Okay, I'm going to make another video, this time on the distance formula. All these videos I'm going to just start posting right here in this document like this. So we're going to make a video on the distance formula right now. So the distance formula, the formula itself is the square root of x1 minus x2 squared plus y1 minus y2 squared. But as you're going to see in this video, the distance formula is actually just the Pythagorean theorem applied to the coordinate plane. So the distance formula is the way that we find the distance between 2 points on what we call the coordinate plane or the Cartesian plane, okay, for Rene Descartes, one or the other. Okay, so let's imagine for a second that we get asked to find the distance between these 2 points in a straight line. We're talking that distance right there. Okay, so if I want to find the distance between those 2 points, what I can do is I can imagine drawing in a right triangle, okay, that's going to go down. Come on, why won't it work? Work for me. Right triangle, it's going to go down like that and over like that. So now I have this right triangle. I want to draw it better. I have this right triangle that's connecting these 2 points, okay? And I can find the legs of this right triangle, the vertical and horizontal distance between the points by subtracting my x and y coordinates. So my x coordinate of my first point is 3 and my second point is 6. Okay, that tells me that they are 3 apart. Okay, and then the y coordinate of my first point is 6. My second point is 2. 6 minus 2 tells me that vertically they are 4 apart. Okay, so now if I wanted to find the distance between those 2 points, it's just the hypotenuse of this right triangle. Okay, so I would use the Pythagorean theorem, 3 squared plus 4 squared, that's my a and b, it's going to equal c squared. A squared plus b squared equals c squared, in which case c here is the distance between my 2 points in a straight line. So again, I would get 9 plus 16 equals c squared, and 9 plus 16 is 25 equals c squared. So then I can square root. If c squared equals 25, then c equals 5. And that tells me that the distance between my 2 points is 5 using the Pythagorean theorem. So now let's look at the distance formula and let's see how what we just did, the distance formula is just all of those steps. Oh, just moving my picture. All of those steps hacked into 1. So I'll show you real quick. Let's readjust this picture so it doesn't take up so much space. Okay. So the distance formula is the square root of x1. That just means the coordinate of my first x point. Either point can be your first point. You just select one, minus x2. It's the coordinate of my second x point. And that answer squared. We're going to add that to y1, the coordinate of your same first point. So now, like I said, either coordinate can be your first point, but y1 needs to be the same, it needs to be the y coordinate for the same point as x1. Okay, so we do y1 minus y2. Oop, that's a bad 2. y1 minus y2. Oh, no, where'd my Jamboard go? Oh, you're going to have to wait a second, video watchers. As I reopen Jamboard, just a second. Ah, Jamboard keeps crashing on me. I'm going to go over one at a time. 4, 5. Almost there, video watchers. Just give me a second. Come on. Okay, we're back. So y1 minus y2, and the answer to that squared. Okay. So let me show you what the distance formula means, how what I had just shown you applies in the exact same way. It's just doing it all in one step. So we're going to make 3, 6 our first coordinate and 6, 2 our second. So if you get asked, what's the distance between these two coordinates? You just use your distance formula. Okay, so my first coordinate will be 3, 6. So x1 will be the x value of my first coordinate. That'll be 3. And then x2 will be the x value of my second coordinate, 6. So we'd have 3 minus 6 squared, and then we're going to add to it y1, the y value of my first coordinate, 6, minus 2, the y value of my second coordinate right there. That's squared, and I square root all of it. Okay? So remember, when we used the Pythagorean theorem to find this distance, we first just figured out the horizontal distance was 3, and we figured out the vertical distance was 4, and we plugged that into the Pythagorean theorem. Well, that's essentially what we're doing here. 3 minus 6 is -3 squared, plus 6 minus 2 is 4 squared. So now I'm going to do 3 squared plus 4 squared, which is going to be 9. -3 squared is -3 times -3, 4, 9. Plus 4 squared is 16. 9 plus 16, which is going to be 25. And then at the very end, once I have this number, I square root it. The square root of 25 equals 5, which is going to be my distance, the distance between those points. Okay, so my distance formula, x1 minus x2 squared plus y1 minus y2 squared, add them together, and then finally square root it at the end. That's just a way to combine all the steps of the Pythagorean theorem into one formula. So I first find my horizontal distance. Here, actually, I'll try and color code this. So I first find my horizontal distance between the points. That's done in this step where I do x1 minus x2. Then I find the vertical distance between my points, which is done on this step. And then once I know those numbers, I can square them, add them together, and square root it, which is my Pythagorean theorem steps to get the hypotenuse, which is my distance.